Leo and Sam were twins, but they were not the kind people easily forgot. They did not talk much, and they did not like crowds. What made them different was their habit of buying things others ignored. Old machines, broken sheds, unused land. They believed forgotten things still had stories and value. Many people laughed at them for wasting money on scrap. The twins never argued back. They trusted their instincts. One evening, while sitting in their small workshop, Sam scrolled through old property listings. Most were boring. Abandoned houses. Empty fields. Then one strange note caught his eye. It mentioned an old mine outside a quiet town. Inside that mine, according to rumors, there was a steam train left behind many years ago. No pictures. No clear records. Just a few lines written by someone who wanted the land cleared quickly. Sam showed the note to Leo. Leo raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Silence often meant interest. They both knew steam trains were rare. Even broken ones had value. A full train hidden inside a mine sounded impossible, yet exciting. The next morning, they drove to the town. It was small and calm, with narrow roads and old buildings. When they asked locals about the mine, most people avoided the topic. Some said it was unsafe. Others said nothing good ever came from that place. One old shop owner finally spoke. He said the mine was closed suddenly many years ago. Workers left in a hurry. The train was real, but no one knew why it was there. That was enough for the twins. They found the mine at the edge of the hills. The entrance was blocked by rusted gates and warning signs. The air felt cold even in daylight. Sam unlocked the gate with effort, and they stepped inside using flashlights. The ground was uneven, and the walls were wet with age. Every sound echoed. As they moved deeper, the tunnel widened. The light from their flashlights touched metal. Large metal. When they stepped closer, they saw it clearly. A steam train rested on broken tracks, covered in dust and stone marks. It was not small. It was a full engine with several cars behind it. Time had not destroyed it. It looked asleep. Leo walked slowly around the engine. He touched the metal. It was cold but strong. Sam checked the wheels and pipes. Many parts were old but intact. This was not scrap. This was history. The twins stood quietly, feeling the weight of the moment. A train like this should have been in a museum or on tracks, not hidden underground. Someone had chosen to leave it here. They contacted the land owner later that day. The owner wanted the mine gone from his worries. He sold the entire site and everything inside it for a very low price. The twins signed the papers without delay. Back at the workshop, they planned how to move the train. It would not be easy. The mine entrance was narrow. The tracks were broken. It would take weeks of work, careful cutting, and steady effort. But the twins were patient people. During the first week, they cleared stones and debris. Each day they returned to the mine, they noticed small details. Strange markings on the walls. Old tools left behind. It felt like the place had been abandoned in a rush. No one had come back to clean or collect anything. Leo spent more time near the front of the train. The engine drew his attention. The boiler was large and heavy. It looked different from others he had seen before. The metal plates were thicker. The bolts were placed closer together. It felt overbuilt. Sam noticed it too. When he knocked on the boiler, the sound was deeper than expected. Not hollow, not full. Something about it felt unusual. They tried to open normal access points, but some parts were sealed tighter than normal. This was not damage from age. It was done on purpose. Someone had worked hard to make sure the boiler stayed closed. At night, Sam searched through old train records. He found a few notes about a supply train used during a rushed project long ago. The project ended suddenly. The records stopped without explanation. The train number matched the one in the mine. Leo listened quietly as Sam read the notes aloud. Neither of them spoke, but both felt the same thing. This train was more than a machine. As days passed, rumors began to spread in town. People noticed the twins working near the mine. Some warned them to stop. Others were curious. A few offered to buy the train parts. The twins refused every offer. They were not ready to sell something they did not yet understand. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Leo stood alone inside the mine. He looked at the engine and imagined it moving again. He wondered why it had been hidden. He wondered what it had carried. He placed his hand on the boiler and felt a strange sense of respect. Whatever secret the train held, it had waited a long time. And the twins had just begun to uncover it. The work became harder as the weeks passed. Moving the steam train out of the mine was not just about strength. It was about care. Leo and Sam knew one wrong move could damage something important. They built support beams inside the tunnel and placed new tracks piece by piece. Every sound echoed through the mine, making their work feel slow and heavy. The engine came out first. When sunlight touched the metal for the first time in many years, it looked different. The dust fell away, and the steel showed deep lines and strong curves. People from the town gathered at a distance to watch. Some had never believed the train was real. Now it stood before them, silent but powerful. The twins moved the engine into their workshop. It was a wide space filled with tools, lights, and old machines they had repaired before. This time felt different. This machine felt like it carried a past that did not want to be forgotten. Leo focused on the outside of the engine. He cleaned the pipes, checked the wheels, and studied every joint. Everything looked strong. Too strong for a train that was meant only to carry supplies. The metal plates were thick. The design felt careful and planned. Sam stayed close to the boiler. He measured it, tapped it, and listened. The sound it made was strange. Not empty, not full. It felt like the boiler was holding something back. When he tried to open the main panel, it would not move. He applied oil, then heat, then steady force. Nothing worked. This was not normal. They found more signs that someone had sealed the boiler on purpose. Extra bolts had been added. Weld marks were smooth and clean, not rushed or broken. Someone skilled had done this. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. At night, the twins talked quietly over old papers and notes. Sam searched through libraries and old town records. Leo studied train designs from the same time period. None matched this boiler. It was unique. One record mentioned a delay during the last known trip of the train. Supplies were loaded in secret. Workers were told to leave early. The project was cancelled the next day. No reason was given. After that, the train was never listed again. The more they learned, the more questions appeared. One evening, Sam noticed faint marks under a layer of soot near the back of the boiler. He cleaned carefully, using a soft cloth. Shapes appeared. Not words, but symbols. Simple lines and curves, carved by hand. They were not decorations. They looked like signs meant to guide someone. Leo studied them under a bright light. The symbols pointed toward a seam in the metal. A seam that did not appear on any blueprint. It was hidden under layers of paint and time. The twins worked slowly, removing only what was needed. They followed the line of the seam. Behind it, they found a small metal plate. It was sealed with care. This was not part of the original design. It had been added later. They stopped working and stepped back. Opening something like this could change everything. It could bring value, trouble, or both. The twins were not afraid, but they were careful. They decided to wait until they understood more. The next day, an old engineer visited their workshop. He had heard about the train and wanted to see it. His eyes widened when he saw the boiler. He walked around it slowly, touching the metal with respect. He said he had never seen a boiler like this. He said it was built to protect something, not just to make steam. He advised them to be patient and gentle. Whatever was inside had been hidden for a reason. That night, Leo could not sleep. He kept thinking about the people who built the train. What fear or hope had driven them to hide something inside a boiler? Why choose a mine? Why leave it behind? The next morning, the twins returned to the boiler. They decided to open only the small plate behind the seam. Nothing more. They used fine tools and steady hands. After hours of work, the plate loosened. Behind it was darkness. Sam held a light close. Inside was a narrow space between metal walls. It was clean. No rust. No damage. That alone was shocking. The space had been sealed perfectly. At the back of the space, something reflected the light. A metal edge. They did not reach inside yet. Instead, they closed the plate again. They looked at each other and nodded. They both understood the same thing. This was not just about money or machines anymore. This was a message from the past, carefully placed and patiently waiting. Outside, the town continued its quiet life. Inside the workshop, a secret rested behind steel walls. The boiler stood still, holding its silence. And the twins knew that when they opened it fully, nothing would ever be the same. The twins did not rush. After closing the hidden plate, they spent 2 full days doing nothing with the boiler. They cleaned the workshop, fixed small tools, and talked very little. Both of them knew that once the boiler was opened fully, there would be no going back. Some things, once seen, changed the way people think forever. On the 3rd morning, Leo unlocked the workshop early. Sunlight entered through the high windows and touched the engine. The steam train looked calm, like it had accepted its fate. Sam arrived with fresh gloves, lights, and a small camera to record everything. They agreed to document each step, not for fame, but for truth. They opened the small hidden plate again. This time, Sam slowly reached inside. His hand touched cold metal, smooth and carefully shaped. He pulled gently, and a small inner box slid forward. It was not loose. It fit the space perfectly, like it belonged there. The box was dark gray, made of strong metal. There were no marks on the outside. No name. No lock. Just weight. It was heavier than it looked. Leo placed it on a thick wooden table. For a moment, neither of them moved. They opened the box together. Inside were several items, each wrapped carefully in oilcloth. The cloth had protected everything from time and air. Sam unwrapped the first item. It was a stack of old papers, folded and tied with a thin metal strip. The paper was yellowed but strong. The writing was clear. The letters were written by engineers and planners. They spoke of a project that needed rare materials. Materials that were valuable even back then. The writers feared theft, sabotage, and loss. They decided the safest place was the boiler of a working steam train. No one would suspect it. The boiler was sealed stronger than usual and designed to hide a second chamber. Leo unwrapped the next item. Inside were metal bars, pale gold in color but different from normal gold. They felt dense and smooth. Later, they would learn these were rare metals mixed with gold, valuable for modern machines and energy systems. At the time they were hidden, their future value was unknown. Sam found a final bundle. It held maps. Old mine maps and rail paths marked by hand. One mark stood out. A note explained that if the train could not return, the mine would keep the secret safe. The writers trusted time more than people. The twins sat down, overwhelmed. This was not luck. This was careful planning from the past. The people who hid these items believed someone honest would find them one day. They contacted a trusted expert quietly. No news. No public talk. The expert examined the metals and confirmed their value. He said the purity was rare. The method used to store them was brilliant. The boiler had protected them perfectly. Word spread anyway. It always does. A reporter called. Then, another. The twins refused interviews. They covered the boiler and locked the workshop. They wanted time to think. Money was not their first thought. Responsibility was. They read every letter again. One line stayed with Leo. It said that the materials were meant to build something better for the future, not to sit in darkness forever. That line felt like a request. The twins made a decision. They would not sell everything. They would not hide the truth. They would restore the steam train fully and share its story. Some metals would go to museums. Some would fund the restoration. The letters would be protected and studied. They cleaned the inner chamber and sealed it again, not to hide the truth, but to honor the design. The boiler had done its job. It had waited. It had protected. That evening, Leo stood near the engine and placed his hand on the steel. Sam stood beside him. Neither spoke, but both felt the same pride. They had not just found wealth. They had found trust from another time. The lost steam train was no longer just a machine. It was a bridge between past and future. The decision the twins made brought change faster than they expected. Even though Leo and Sam tried to stay quiet, news escaped their small circle. A rare steam train. A hidden chamber. Old letters and valuable metals. The story was too strong to stay hidden for long. One morning, several cars stopped outside their workshop. People stepped out with notebooks, cameras, and questions. Reporters had arrived. They wanted answers. They wanted stories. They wanted proof. The twins did not panic. They had already agreed on what to say and what not to say. Leo spoke calmly. He explained the history of the train, the mine, and the hidden boiler. He did not talk about exact values or future plans. Sam showed them the engine from a distance and shared copies of a few letters. That was enough. The reporters left, excited and loud. Within days, the story spread everywhere. Newspapers called it the lost train of the mine. Online articles spoke about hidden engineering and trust across time. Some people praised the twins. Some questioned their choices. Others offered large amounts of money. Museums contacted them first. They wanted the letters and maps. Engineers from universities asked to study the boiler design. History groups asked for talks and displays. The twins felt pressure from all sides. They met every night to talk. They made lists and plans. They reminded each other why they started buying forgotten things in the first place. It was never just about profit. It was about saving stories before they disappeared. They agreed to work with museums and researchers. The letters were scanned and stored safely. The maps were studied to understand old rail paths and mining work. Engineers examined the boiler without opening the hidden chamber again. They were amazed by the design. It showed skill far ahead of its time. The metals were tested carefully. Experts confirmed their rare mix and purity. The value was high, but the twins chose not to sell them to private buyers. Instead, part of the materials went to public study. Another part was kept to fund the full restoration of the train. Restoring the train became their main focus. The engine needed cleaning, repair, and balance. Old parts had to be replaced with matching designs. Sam worked on the mechanical systems. Leo focused on structure and safety. They hired a few skilled workers who respected the project. People from the town started to help. Some brought food. Some shared stories passed down from older family members. One man remembered his grandfather talking about a train that never came back. A woman shared a photo of miners standing near tracks long ago. Each small detail added life to the story. The workshop became a place of learning. Students visited. Teachers brought classes. The twins explained how patience and care mattered more than speed. They showed how the boiler was built to protect, not to impress. Money continued to appear in offers. Some were tempting. The twins refused most of them. They accepted only what helped the project grow without losing control. They wanted the train to belong to everyone, not to disappear into a private collection. One evening, after a long day of work, Leo sat alone inside the engine cabin. He touched the controls and imagined the hands that once used them. He wondered if those engineers had hoped someone like them would exist one day. Someone who would listen. Sam joined him quietly. He said the train had changed their lives. Leo nodded. But he also said it had changed how others saw the past. People were now paying attention to forgotten places and hidden work. The twins announced their final plan. The steam train would run again on a short restored track near the town. It would become a moving exhibit. The story of the boiler and its secret would be shared honestly. The metals and letters would be protected for public knowledge. The response was strong and positive. People supported the idea. Volunteers offered time and skill. The town felt proud. What was once an abandoned mine had become a source of meaning. As the restoration neared completion, the boiler stood firm and silent. It no longer hid a secret, but it still held its strength. It had done what it was built to do. The world had found out. And instead of taking, it had chosen to learn. The day the steam train was ready came quietly. There were no loud announcements or banners at first. Leo and Sam wanted the moment to feel real, not rushed. The restored track curved gently near the edge of the town, close enough for people to walk to, far enough to feel special. Fresh wooden ties rested under polished rails. Everything was checked again and again. Early that morning, mist covered the ground. The engine stood at the start of the track, clean and proud. The boiler had been tested many times. Pressure held steady. Valves worked smoothly. The train was ready, but it felt like it was waiting for permission. People began to arrive as the sun rose. Families. Old workers. Students. Reporters stayed at a distance this time. This was not a show. This was a return. Leo climbed into the engine cabin. Sam stood beside the boiler, watching the gauges. They exchanged a quiet look. No words were needed. Years of effort, patience, and respect had led to this moment. Sam opened the valve slowly. Steam began to rise. A soft sound filled the air, steady and calm. The engine responded like it remembered its purpose. The wheels creaked once, then settled. Leo pulled the control with care. The train moved. At first, it was slow, almost unsure. Then the wheels turned smoothly. The engine rolled forward, sending steam into the morning sky. People held their breath. Some smiled. Some wiped their eyes. The lost train was alive again. The sound of the engine echoed across the hills. Not loud, not angry, but strong and steady. The train followed the track, just as it was meant to do. For a short time, the past and present moved together. When the train reached the end of the track, Leo slowed it gently and brought it to a stop. Applause followed, but it was soft and respectful. The twins stepped down. They did not bow or wave. They simply stood near the engine, hands resting on warm metal. Later that day, the exhibit opened. Visitors walked through guided paths. They read the letters. They saw the maps. They learned about the boiler and the hidden chamber. The story was told clearly and honestly, without exaggeration. Engineers explained the design to curious students. Historians spoke about the time when fear and hope lived side by side. The train became more than a machine. It became a lesson. Leo spent time with children who asked simple questions. Why was the train hidden? Why did people trust the future? Leo answered the best he could. He said sometimes people do the right thing even when they cannot finish their work. They leave signs for others. Sam watched visitors study the boiler from behind a barrier. He remembered the first time he tapped the metal and felt something was wrong. Now he understood. The boiler had not been wrong. It had been careful. As weeks passed, the train ran every weekend. It never went fast. Speed was not the goal. Meaning was. Each ride carried people a short distance and brought them back. The journey was small, but the feeling stayed. The town changed too. The old mine was cleaned and sealed safely. Signs explained its history. New paths were built. Visitors came not for thrill, but for understanding. Local shops reopened. Stories were shared again. Offers still came to the twins. Large offers. They continued to say no. The value of what they had found was not measured in money anymore. It was measured in trust. One evening, after the visitors had gone, Leo and Sam sat near the track. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in soft colors. The train rested quietly, steam fading into the air. Sam spoke first. He said the people who hid the secret had been right. Time had protected it better than walls. Leo agreed. He said the past had spoken clearly, and they had listened. They locked the workshop and walked home together. Tomorrow would bring more visitors, more questions, more learning. The twins were ready. The lost steam train had waited long enough. Its secret had been found. Its purpose had been fulfilled. And its story would keep moving, just like the train itself.